Hello and welcome. It's official. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has won the Sri Lankan presidential election. The wartime defence minister will become the 7th president of the island nation. After his victory, Gotabaya Rajapaksa released a statement. He said, and I quote, "As we usher in a new journey for Sri Lanka, we must remember that all Sri Lankans are part of this journey. Let's rejoice peacefully with dignity and discipline in the same manner in which we campaigned," unquote. Now, this came shortly after Gotabaya Rajapaksa's main rival and ruling alliance's candidate, Sajith Premadasa, conceded defeat. The sitting minister also took to Twitter to congratulate Rajapaksa on his victory. Now, probably the first world leader to congratulate Rajapaksa was Maldives President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih, who said that he looked forward to working with Rajapaksa's new government to further the already close ties between Maldives and Sri Lanka. So what's the process of electing the president of Sri Lanka? Now, Sri Lanka has 16 million voters, out of which 80% cast their ballots. Now, there were 35 candidates in this election. The candidate who gets more than 50% of the votes will become the president. Now, voters can choose their top 3 candidates in the order of preference. But what happens if none gets 50%? Now, the voters can choose their top 3 candidates in the order of preference. If there is no clear mandate, the candidate who secures the most preference votes becomes the president. It's never happened in the past, so Sri Lankans almost always give a clear mandate. And journalist Zulfiq Farzan joins us live from Colombo for more of this developing story. Zulfiq, thank you for joining us once again on Wion. Well, is one the big news this moment. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the new president of Sri Lanka. Walk us through the details coming in the last half an hour or more.
Well, it's been an eventful morning with the results pouring in since early morning today. And just half an hour ago, the NDF presidential candidate, Sajith Premadasa, expressing his congratulations to Gotabaya Rajapaksa on becoming the president. And in a letter, Sajith Premadasa also said he would be stepping down from the post of deputy leader of the United National Party, the single largest party in Sri Lanka, of which he represents, and also stressed that he would continue to work for the people. Now, what we know so far is that not all results are out. The results are still coming in, but however, it appears that Sajith Premadasa is conceding the election to Gotabaya Rajapaksa, sends a message that Gotabaya Rajapaksa is declaring victory over his rival. So it's been a very eventful morning here in Colombo and all over Sri Lanka.
Indeed. Zulfiq, I want you to take a step back and reflect on the elections this year. Now, this was an election between 2 dynasts, the Rajapaksas and the Premadasas. Now, if I were to ask you what clicked for Gotabaya and what did not succeed for Sajith, your thoughts?
Well, Sajith Premadasa, if you talk about him, he a charismatic personality, to be honest. So he, in fact, is the son of the late President Sajith Premadasa, who was sadly assassinated by the LTTE many years ago. Now, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the brother of Mahinda Rajapaksa, the former president of Sri Lanka. So both of them come from families that are having a strong background in politics here in Sri Lanka. Now, Sajith Premadasa is more of a person who approaches the rural folk, who always addresses the issues of the rural relatives in Sri Lanka, while Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who hails as the defense minister, is very much known for his wartime role as the defense secretary.
Also, if we were to talk about the Rajapaksas for a moment, looking ahead, would you see a role for both Mahinda Rajapaksa and his son Namal in the government, in the presidency under Gotabaya Rajapaksa?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation with regard to what roles the Rajapaksa family members would play in the event Gotabaya Rajapaksa becomes the president of the country. But until now, we have not heard any confirmation from any of the Rajapaksa camp top tier people commenting on whether any position would be given to them. So it's still kept, I think it's in a secret box that they're keeping all these matters in. So we still don't know, and we still don't have any confirmation whether even Mahinda Rajapaksa, the former president, would even play a role in Gotabaya Rajapaksa's cabinet.
All right, Zulfiq, before we continue this conversation, I want to play out those tweets once again for the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in. The tweets coming in from both candidates, Premadasa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Now, this is the tweet by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, which came in just moments ago. He says, and I quote, "As we usher in a new journey for Sri Lanka, we must remember that all Sri Lankans are part of this journey. Let's rejoice peacefully with dignity and discipline in the same manner in which we campaign." Unquote. This is Gotabaya Rajapaksa. And let's go to Sajith Premadasa. "It's my privilege to honor the people's decision and congratulate Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa on his election. I'm grateful to our citizens who voted for me. I'm humbled that you placed your faith in me. Your support has been a fountain of strength throughout my political career." Also coming up next is the son of Mahinda Rajapaksa, Namal. He says, "A heartfelt thank you to all those voters who supported Polutana Party and placed their trust in Gotabaya Rajapaksa and President Mahinda Rajapaksa. We will not let you down." That's Namal Rajapaksa for you. All right, if I can go back to my guest one more time in this bulletin. Zulfiq, let's look ahead and talk a bit about the Gotabaya presidency now. What would a Gotabaya Rajapaksa presidency look like for countries in the region, namely India and China?
So in Gotabaya Rajapaksa's manifesto, he says a lot of things about reviving the economy, reviving agriculture in the country, reviving education. It was both manifestos of Sajith Premadasa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa were on the same lines of development and also revival of the economy and ensuring national security and establishing a peaceful environment for all Sri Lankans. Now, if we look at Gotabaya Rajapaksa, his manifesto speaks of all those matters, and therefore, according to what many say, is that they would be looking forward to seeing some kind of improvement in what he has promised in his election manifesto.
And let's talk about the constituents, the voters themselves. Now, looking at the results still coming in as we speak, official results are still awaited. Who do you think actually voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa? The Tamils, I'm given to understand, there was no love lost between the Tamil community and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. At the same time, they were not happy with Sirisena either. So, where does that leave the Tamil National Alliance, Zulfiq?
So, well, the Tamil National Alliance, just days before the election, tweeted out saying that they have not signed any agreement with any political party, but they decided to support Sajith Premadasa, and they stressed that they did not sign any agreement. If you look at the map of voter turnout in Sri Lanka, you would notice that most of the dominant votes for Sajith Premadasa came from the north and several sections of the east so far, and then it's mainly the south and the southeast areas that mainly voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Now, talking about the campaign itself, Zulfiq, Gotabaya said that national security was his priority and remains so even today, and he wants a robust security policy going forward in the light of what happened in April this year. Now, talking about domestic politics, on the other hand, Zulfiq, what are the challenges or priorities for the Gotabaya Rajapaksa presidency? Can we see an end to the executive presidency, number one? And number two, is there any chance that Gotabaya would like to rewrite constitution and allow his brother to contest again going forward sometime in the future?
Well, it's too hard to comment on what you just said because we still haven't got any confirmation on what future plans that Gotabaya Rajapaksa is having for his government or for his family members. But it will be interesting to see whether the promises that he made under his election manifesto would actually be met.
We watched these live visuals coming from outside Gotabaya Rajapaksa's residence. Let's talk a bit about the voter turnout now. What's the latest figure you're getting and what does that tell you about the voter sentiment in Sri Lanka today?
So voter turnout, according to the National Elections Commission, was almost 80%, which is a very favorable number considering that almost 16 million people were registered to vote this year at this presidential election. So mainly in many areas which usually you don't see any percentage above 65%. This time around we saw almost 75 to 80% of voter turnout in those areas. It clearly sends a message that the people were eager to decide on their own this time around.
All right, on that note, Zulfiq Farzan in Colombo, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me on Wion. Well, I appreciate it. So the news coming in from Colombo this moment, Gotabaya Rajapaksa has won the election. Sajith Premadasa has conceded defeat. That's the big news coming in from Colombo this moment.